Awesome. So we are officially recording. So for everyone who has joined us today, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be talking about lead generation, especially in this market today. We have an incredible panel. I do want to wait about 1 more minute or so before we get started, just to allow some more time for people to join us. So we'll probably be bantering back and forth a bit, but go ahead and in the chat, share with us where you're joining us from. Additionally, share what field within real estate you're from. So if you represent commercial real estate, or maybe you represent residential or luxury, share as well what field you're representing in the real estate industry. We would love to know that. And then we will get started in about 1 more minute. But yes, I'm really excited for the convention. I love it. I love traveling. I love having the opportunity to meet everyone. So
yeah. Have you been to Seattle before?
No.
Oh, okay. I can't promise you good weather.
I'm from Ohio originally, so
you'll be fine.
I get it.
Yeah. But you live in the perfect weather in the world right now out in California. So
yeah, I think so. Yesterday we were, I think 80.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's still pretty warm. Welcome, Bruce. Thanks for joining us. You are also in California, the best weather.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and just get started. I think we've got so much amazing content to discuss today, and I want to make sure we have enough time to get through everything. So I want to briefly take a moment to just introduce everyone you are seeing today. So I'll start with myself. My name is Rachel Gombosch. I'm the Community and Content Marketing Manager here at Virtuance, and I handle a lot of the external facing or extroverted facing marketing. So I'm the host of our podcast. I host a lot of our webinars. So I will be your host and facilitator for this panel discussion today. And I am so incredibly excited to be joined by our panelists. We have Chris Cockerham, who's the past president of the Indiana Commercial Board of Realtors. And additionally, he works as a commercial realtor for FC Tucker in Bloomington, Indiana. So Chris, thank you for joining. And then we have Rachel Warner, who is the Director of Luxury Marketing of John L. Scott Real Estate, one of the top 20 residential real estate brands in the nation. So thank you, Rachel, as well for joining us today. And then also we have Grant Wise, president and founder of Whitley, a real estate ad platform that automates ads for real estate agents and that automatically promotes those ads to your target audience, the right audience you want to reach to help you generate leads, build your brand, and convert more clients. So Grant, thank you for joining us as well. I'm excited for us to get into this discussion today. We are talking all things lead generation, which I know is extremely important, not only year-round from a real estate standpoint, but I think especially in the market right now with a lot of the market scarcity that we're seeing. So I want to go ahead, since everyone here is in a little bit of a different position, I want to just kind of open up with everyone's input on the market and how leads are being affected currently by the market scarcity right now. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and just start us off.
Well, thank you. So in the commercial world, and I'm a generalist, so I handle all product types in commercial, to where I have golf courses for sale, to 100,000 square foot industrial, to small office buildings. So I cover the whole gamut of the commercial real estate world. I don't focus just on one product. One of the things that I've seen that have changed, obviously with the interest rates that have gone up, the sales side of my business, deals have been hard to do. It's been hard, even when we're in the middle of a deal, with the interest rates going up, those deals have fallen. So it's made it a lot harder to put deals together. The other thing too is, obviously we came out of a super strong market with the interest rates going up. Obviously the buyer's ability to come up to the seller's price has been a lot harder. So there's been a gap. Mm-hmm. Here I've got sellers that just absolutely want to maximize that value, and the buyers just aren't quite there yet. So it's been a little bit harder. On the leasing side, which has been a little bit surprising, we've been leasing a lot of space that is sat vacant for a long time. So spaces at 5,000 square feet, we've just recently leased out 4 or 5 of those in our marketplace, which is a pretty big space in our marketplace, and we're in southern Indiana. So those spaces have been leasing, which we put several deals together in the last couple of weeks. And that product type has sat for a long time. So leasing has been boosted. Sales have slowed down. So
I think that's a really important point to also bring up, is that in the middle of your deals, you're seeing the effects of what the market is doing right now. And I think a lot of times we're hearing it at the beginning, where we can't even generate necessarily the leads in the beginning, right, in the first place. But that impact of even when you do have a lead, right in the middle of the deal, what's happening as well. So that's a great point to bring up. Rachel, do you have anything to add? Grant, anything to add?
I would say it's been really interesting for us, and with our brokerage is in 4 states, so we have quite a bit of variety from market to market. Some have slowed down a lot more than others. But we are, interestingly enough, especially in the luxury space, we're experiencing some listings that have trended similarly to what you were saying earlier, which is that we are seeing buyers that are backing out of deals, or we're seeing properties that are sitting on the market long enough that we have price adjustments, and agents who 2 years ago didn't really have to think about how they were marketing the property because it was just going to sell in 2 or 3 days. Now they're having to actually go back and be very deliberate about their marketing plans for their listings, and their sellers have very high expectations for them.
Yeah.
I've seen that it's gotten really exciting. It sounds like kind of an odd maybe an odd thing to say after. We tend to work with people that in markets like this, there's one of 2 mindsets. I'm going to grow, or I'm going to contract a little bit and get smaller, get leaner. And we tend to work with the people that are more growth minded. So a lot of our clients are kind of excited because in the social advertising realm, the number of people that are actually advertising is pulled back a little bit, which means it's less competitive when we're out there bidding for leads. And so the average cost per lead has gone down. And what we've noticed is the conversion rate is not followed. There's still people that want to list their homes. There's still people that want to buy homes. So it's really just kind of actually gotten a little bit better for a lot of our clients, where listings are going to, go up every day. Buyers are still going to buy homes every day. And so it's actually really exciting. A lot of our clients are expanding into the market because they're able to grab more opportunity at a lower cost per lead, per appointment, and then per closing. And it's actually, I kind of like what we're saying as far as like agents now actually have to go put together legitimate marketing plans to sell their listings, which is, it's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. It's a good thing if you know how to do it. It's a bad thing if you don't. But we're seeing that the people that are doing it are having more success, lower cost per lead, lower cost per appointment, and a lower cost per close when it comes to looking at the numbers on the back end from a lead generation standpoint. So,
yeah. Well, let's kind of touch on that real quick, is developing that marketing plan, and how, I mean, just as you said, Grant, it's this good and bad thing at the same time. Like, awesome, because now it's time to really get serious and develop a marketing plan, no matter what field you're serving, right? You have to, at this point, it's a do or die situation. The strong ones are going to be moving forward and having the most success. Unfortunately, what kind of stinks is that if you don't have a strong marketing plan in place, or you don't know how to necessarily develop that marketing plan, what are those next steps? What do you do? What are those beginning steps you take to develop a strong marketing plan so that you can have success in this type of volatile market, where even though people, are still buying and selling homes, they're far and they're few. So what are those steps you take to make sure that you're developing that strong marketing plan to make sure that you're generating the leads you want to reach?
Are you asking me? I just want to make sure that I'm clear. If you're directing that back to me,
Sure, go ahead.
I didn't know if you were going back around.
Nope, go ahead.
I think that the first thing is like verifying what you said for me, because it's, our has transaction volume actually declined? Because if you look at some MLSs, the data says yes a little bit. If you look at some MLSs, the data says no, actually it hasn't. So it's going and looking at a little bit of the data to verify whether or not the transaction volume has slowed a little bit. So we have this really silly little framework that I developed that has been so effective. It's how we step into top companies and identify what may be missing. And it's attention plus connection equals appointments. So attention is getting leads. And if you can get names, email addresses, phone numbers added into your database every day, you're always going to have opportunity. And that's rule number one. It's the most important thing you can do. Then there's the connection component. So if we're in an agent's business and we see that maybe their conversion rate on their leads is not very high, it's typically because they're not doing a very good job of connecting with the buyer or the seller. And we see this in an individual agent's business. And then we work with number one at EXP, number one at Remax, number one kind of all around the country. And we see it in their businesses too, where there's not this connection component with the buyer or seller. So lead conversion to appointments really low. And that tells us like the number one thing that most people can do that are actively getting leads right now is develop a relationship with the leads they're generating. It's not all about transactions. It's about connections and actually like pouring into relationships, especially in times when there's uncertainty. People need a guide. They don't need somebody that is also freaking out and trying to figure out what to do to survive. They want to know that they're actually working with somebody that's an expert, somebody that's going to have success in the market and can help them have success in the market. So how you portray yourself is very important. And if you do those two things right, if you can generate leads and then you can build a relationship with those people, you can set a lot of appointments for your business, which is ultimately what helps you go off and really grow and scale. So if you're looking for like a framework for developing a marketing plan, first I need to get attention. Then I need to create a connection with those people, and that's going to translate to buyer appointments, seller appointments.
Yeah. And Chris, Rachel, how would you guys say that also translates more specifically from maybe a commercial standpoint or from a luxury residential standpoint?
Well, from a commercial standpoint, I completely agree with Grant. So like a lot of my focus is, I have a large inventory of listings, which is different than the housing market, and even our residential brokers in our market, are trying to find, properties to list. But I'm basically a listing broker, so I'm spending a lot of time communicating with my brokers each day. My assistant and I, we look at it, we see who needs touched. So I make a phone call, I add value, I continue to build that relationship, kind of hold their hand a little bit as their property may be sitting on the market a little bit longer. I do a lot of warm calls. Ever since I started my business, I did cold calls. Well, fortunately, 30 years in, I'm now doing warm calls. So I reach out all day. If I know of anything, if I hear of anything, I'm reaching out to those clients. And then I'm also I'm just trying to do deals. So if I hear something that's going on, if it's off market, that warm call becomes a deal, which fortunately has happened in the last couple of weeks. But it's so I'm constantly just trying to move, whether it's a listing I currently have or it's off market. I'm just constantly trying to create that value and to whoever I'm working with. But building those relationships in this time and holding their hand and giving them comfort is where I spend a lot of my time right now.
Yeah, I would completely agree with everything and add in one of the recommendations that we give pretty often, especially lately, is to really assess their brand. So because I'm doing a lot of like consulting essentially with our agents who will come to us and say, I want more leads, I want more listings, I want to, move more into the luxury space. How do I do all of that? You need to be super clear on your brand. It needs to be defined, and that's going to drive what marketing activities are the most authentic for you. So that's not going to be one thing for everyone, but everyone needs to define their brand. So some people are very heavy in social media and they're great and they're producing videos all day long. Some people, work with a lot of engineers and they understand engineers and they are going to dive super deep into the data, and they can be a really good expert for their clients that can explain all of the ins and outs of what's happening in the market. So I think getting very clear on who you are and who your ideal client is going to help you put that marketing plan together. You'll know exactly who you want to reach and then put the pieces together on how to reach them.
Yeah. Yeah. All fantastic points. And kind of what I'm gathering from what everyone's saying is there's almost two components to this. There is a internal facing, I need to reevaluate myself, my brand, my own internal marketing. And then additionally, there is this other component of of education, right? Of how am I going to educate my client so that they feel comfortable in today's market. But in order to do that second step, again, I myself have to be comfortable with my brand and who I am and how I'm marketing myself and understanding the key components and the key takeaways of what's happening in today's market, so that I can appropriately educate you and make you also feel comfortable. Because Grant, I believe it was you who said, I can't be crazy as well and psychotic at the same time trying to calm you down. So I think that's a really, those are all really great points that each one of you brought up. So I want to kind of talk about maybe some objections that agents or team leads maybe are even hearing because of the market today. So again, we kind of talk about this educational process and understanding the market and understanding what's going on and maybe let's focus more on team leads right now, but how should a team go out and calm their agents down and let them know, hey, listen, this is how you need to help handle your clients right now. Like, these are the things you should be telling them. What are those educational tips that maybe a leader or a brokerage, Rachel, in your instance, should be telling their agents to make sure that they are set up for success when they know they're going into a market that they're going to be handling a lot of different objections? So Rachel, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
I think it really goes back to understanding the market. I think exactly to what Grant was saying. If you are that person that is also panicking and the sky is falling, your clients are going to feel that and sense that. And you need to be that sense of calm. And you really need to be the expert that can say, okay, well, here's what the actual situation is. This is what the data is telling us. This is what is, honestly, a little bit of what we're dealing with right now is just the annual cycle, right? Less people want to sell their home at the end of the year. So inherently, there will be less listings this time of year. So that is just a reality. But being able to tell that story and then have data, reports, anecdotal evidence, whatever you need to have those conversations and feel really confident when you're speaking with those clients. This is what the reality of the situation is. You can sell your home at any time. There are buyers out there all the time, but what's the right time for you? Let's look at what the market tells us. Here is all of the data to back up what your options are.
Yeah. What are some tools that you rely on to tell you that data and to share with your real estate professionals?
We produce a ton of reports. Some of those are just internal, like I'm pouring over spreadsheets with a lot of coffee. Some of that is we do like a monthly housing update for our key markets. So we push those out to the agents and we deliver them in a bunch of formats so they can determine how to use it with their clients. So that's social media, that's printed pieces they can have in an open house. They can send them out in postcards. They can go through it and make their own video. So it's whatever their style is, whatever fits with their brand. But we want to package it up in a way that it's easy for like an agent to digest and then for them to turn around and explain to their clients. There are a million ways to find that information. I think most MLSs have some reporting capability that you can go in and grab whatever you need. So really, as an agent, educating yourself on what your resources are and then getting that really fine-tuned so you can turn around and have those conversations.
Yeah. Chris, what about from a commercial stance?
From a commercial, and I agree 100% with Rachel. Being completely in tune with the market. And And also, one of the things I do with my clients is I'm in there with them. My goal is to maximize their value. I'm a listing broker, so I'm going to maximize their value. But I give them their options. I let them know what the market's doing, and then ultimately they'll tell me their motivation on when they want to sell. If they want to maximize the value, we just keep pushing and moving forward. As far as finding the data in the commercial world, I'm very fortunate because I'm a part of Indiana University's Kelley School of Business, and we bring practitioners in from all over the country. So we hear what's going on from all over the country. I don't make a bulk of my income there. I'm there because I like being a part of it. I like sharing with the students, but I also love knowing up-to-date information all the time. So being a part of this. So I've gotten involved with that organization, which happens to be here in Bloomington. But also I would lean heavily on your associations. So our local LEDOs and economic development corporations, our boards, being involved with those in Indiana, the ICBR, because you're able to be around other brokers. You get to hear what's going on, some of the struggles that they're doing, but it also gives you a really good up-to-date information on the market that you can then share with your clients. And you have a source that you can back. So I got this from Indiana Commercial Board of Realtors or Indiana University. So you can cite your sources and have and be able to share information with them.
Yeah, you brought up a really great point of rely on other people too. I think there's obviously the key element of going back and doing that research and making sure that you understand the data from a technical standpoint. Extremely important. Not disagreeing with that at all. But also rely on the fact that there's a ton of real estate professionals out there who are you're all trying to kind of do the same thing together, and rely on other people's knowledge base as well, right? So there may be strengths someone else has that you can rely on them for. And I think that's a really interesting point to bring up, is that there are local associations where you can gather together with other brokers and other real estate professionals, and you can have these discussions about the market to come up with really great conclusions that can in turn help you when you're with your buyer or your seller. So don't forget that you have a built-in community to reach out to. Grant, what about you from being in that software industry where you are looking at these behaviors from an analytical standpoint?
I think there's the data and there's the analytics, and then into like what's happening from a production standpoint, transactions, markets up, markets down. I mean, just all of those things. I think to answer the question that you asked, it would be with empathy. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm a team leader and I've got a group of agents in front of me, there's the P&L that we care about. One of the greatest things I learned from some of my coaches and mentors, that there's the traditional profit and loss statement in a business, but then there's also people and their lives. And when you're entering a time like we are in, it's caring more about people in their lives and investing in those relationships. And the team leader doing that for the agents that are working inside of their organization is going to trickle down, because the agent is going to do that for the buyer and the seller that may be out there trying to figure out what life's going to look like in the next 3 months. And there's all types of sales tactics and scripts and all these little things that I think that an agent can utilize to go out there and persuade. But in times like this, it's more about having empathy for somebody else's situation and just not emotionally communicating data points based on what you yourself need, but more so what is in the best interest of the person that's sitting right there in front of you. And I think that if people can care more about what's happening to the person sitting in front of them and unemotionally, speak to them, I think, and not be romantic about the outcome, I think it's going to create a much better environment for success, whether it's the team leader or for the agent that's trying to close more deals. Yeah. And that, I don't know, has a lot to do with data and analytics and marketing, but I've seen where people that have a high sense of emotional intelligence, especially when it's coming down to, the moment that we're sitting in, I think those people tend to have a lot more success.
Yeah. Well, and I think too that I think that speaks to the industry itself, right? Real estate is a relationship-based industry. And if you can't be empathetic and you can't build relationships, then you are going to see some faults in your business. And so, especially when we are in a time like we are right now, where your buyers and sellers are a little on edge with what's going on, right? To say the least, it's a time for you to really be empathetic with how their position is and the things that they are feeling right now with the market. Because at the end of the day, it's not their job necessarily to be real estate experts, right? That's why they're bringing you in as their real estate professional, is to help them understand the market and understand what's going on. But you, as that professional and as that expert, need to be able to put yourself in their shoes and understand the emotions that they are feeling, right? So I think that's a really, that's a great point to bring up. And I think it speaks volumes as well that that's coming from someone who stands from that really data-driven analytical standpoint, is that at the end of the day, it's really about being empathetic. And I think that kind of leads into this next question that I have is, we know that's a big key component, but what are some effective ways that people can target these buyer and seller leads? Obviously, empathy is a portion of that. But if you are a professional in this industry right now and you are obviously dealing with the market and what's going on, but you're struggling to find quality buyer and seller leads, what are some effective strategies you can do? Maybe outside of just obviously bumping up your marketing. But I know we had mentioned maybe warm leads or cold leads. What would you say are the top 2 or 3 things that real estate professionals should be doing right now to make sure that they're generating those leads? Chris, why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, one of the things I do, and I think Grant mentioned it earlier, but I'm always trying to increase my reach. So, in Indiana, we've only got about 6 million people in the state. And, I was in California for a while where a county had, 9 million people. I think the LA, the proper is up 9 million. So it feels very achievable to touch every part of our state. So with commercial, because I do cover the whole state. So I've got interns that are building databases for me in other cities. So I have a student down at the University of Evansville right now, who's interested in real estate, and he's building a database down. It's the 3rd largest city in our state. And I'm not in that market yet, but we are now building a database so I can eventually get into that market. We've already built databases, here in the central Indiana area, and then a little bit up in the northern Indiana area. But that's one of the things that I've been focusing on, and just trying to make that reach even bigger. So that's one area that I've been just trying to again generate more leads, because that's one thing that makes my phone ring, is when I reach out to my entire database with maybe a new listing, the phone almost instantly rings. So I know it's very effective. So
yeah,
that's where I've been putting a lot of energy.
Nice. Rachel, what about you?
I fully agree. And I would add, so what we've talked about a lot is understanding historically where your leads have come from. So if you have been in business for, 20, 30 years, and most of your business at this stage is coming from referrals, then your activities are going to be a little bit different than someone that's been in business for 2 years and only knows a hot market, and the leads just kind of fell into their lap and they just went through the motions. So we have a lot of conversations about how there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, and you do really need to do some analysis to understand where your leads come from and focus your efforts on that. But secondarily, where else do you want your leads to come from? So if you haven't worked in social media into your marketing plan, but that's something that you want to add, don't put all of your eggs in that basket. Focus where the leads have come from, and then add that as like your second phase. So a lot of analysis of where your leads have come from.
Yeah.
put your primary effort there.
Yeah. A very proactive approach of not just where you are, but where you want to go.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a two-prong. You don't want to neglect one or the other, but you also don't necessarily want to pigeonhole yourself and say, all of my ads came from open houses, so I'm not doing anything else.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Grant, what about you?
I am obviously biased to Facebook, I would imagine, as a software company that automates social media advertising. The number one problem, and looking at the question you're even asking, and the most business owners in the world have is understanding how to acquire customers.
Mm-hmm.
And in this industry, it's even thinking about client acquisition. A lot of people think about getting referrals, and it drives success in this space, most certainly, which is why traditionally most agents think about it. But if you look at a lot of raw data, 90+% of home searches originate online, which means we should be advertising our business online. If you're in real estate, speaking residentially, and you're working to generate more buyer-seller business, I think it's very important to understand. Because if you go back to points made previously by Rachel, is okay, who is my ideal customer? And I was consulting a company last night. Who's your ideal customer? Okay, now who has your customers? Where are they hanging out? Where are they congregating? And today in real estate, for the most part, that is going to be online, traditionally in a social setting, i.e. Facebook, Instagram, these social platforms. So if you were going to ask me, where do I go get leads today? I'm going to go right to Facebook. I'm going to run what we call a homes list ad as a Facebook lead form ad. I'm going to spend $5 or $10 a day, and I'm going to get names, email addresses, and phone numbers every single day of people that are actually interested in buying or selling a property. So a direct answer to your question is I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm going to run a Facebook lead form ad using what we call a homes list ad campaign, which is really nothing more than giving people a list of properties that they can look at. But it is the single greatest desire. If you look at buyers and you look at sellers, the number one thing that buyers and sellers want, more so than knowing their home value, is understanding what inventory is available in the marketplace. And this has not changed in decades. It's been the same with or without social media, with or without the MLS, with or without the newspaper. Everybody has always wanted to know what's available so that they can understand what to purchase. So we lean into their core desire. We give people what they want, not what realtors believe that they need, which is realtors, because it's not what people wake up every day and think about as, I'm going to go find me a realtor. No, it's like, I want to go look at houses. I want to know what's available to me. So understand, who your customer is. Absolutely understand what it is that they actually want, and then just give it to them. This is all Zillow did, right? This is the number one thing that Zillow did to build a multi-billion-dollar company, is they accessed inventory and they gave it to people in a slightly different way than they were accustomed to. And they built this behemoth of a company. Each individual agent can do that exact same thing. And so if you understand your customer, you understand what they want, just give it to them. I don't care if you do it on Facebook. I don't care if you do it by the radio. I don't care if you're in TV ads. I don't care if you buy billboards or little flyers you put in the shop markets. Like, none of that stuff matters, but do give people what it is that they want. And you will never, ever, ever not have leads in your business that you can start building relationships with every day.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome point, that the want has never changed. It's the delivery of that's changed over the years, right? Listings have been in newspapers. Now they're switched to online. They may have been in radio ads. Now you're seeing them on social media. So I want to get to that, but real quick, I saw someone pop a question in the chat that I believe will be directed towards you, Grant. Can you discuss, Nancy, I'm going to try to deliver this question how I think it should be delivered. But can you discuss the Facebook lead format that you're talking about? How does that, come across on the receiving end? How is that set up?
I think that she could have misheard me because I said lead form ad, Facebook lead form ad. So it could have sounded like format. But if you're running a Facebook advertisement, when you go to select the ad objective, there will be lead generation, and you click that, and then that would be what your Facebook lead ad would, or that's how you would run a Facebook lead ad. What you're giving away to people to get their contact information is your property list that they can look at.
Awesome. Nancy, I hope that answers your question, but please let us know if it doesn't. And we'll be happy to clarify that for you. But I want to keep talking about social media because I think this is a really big component to lead generation right now. And getting your brand out there, especially again in this market. So how does social media use, more so probably for Chris and Rachel, how does that look from a commercial standpoint and from the luxury standpoint? How are you marketing these properties on social media effectively that you're able to generate leads?
So from the commercial standpoint, I started with my database, and then I utilize MailChimp. So we send out 2 flyers a week. It hits about 10,000 people, but it goes from MailChimp. It'll go to my Facebook. It'll go, it feeds to my social media. And it's really interesting because I never know, am I making a sale from that? Have I gotten a lead? What made someone call me? A lot of times I'll ask them, how'd you find me? Or, but it's interesting because even LinkedIn in the business world, we have, close to 10,000 contacts in the LinkedIn, but I'll be on the street and I don't look at LinkedIn that much. I gotta be honest with you, but I'll be on the street and people say, "Hey, Chris, I just saw on LinkedIn, nice listing." Oh yeah, or it might be something interesting, but I get more comments from that, from the LinkedIn side for the commercial world. But again, I don't know that I've actually made a transaction through social media, but I know that I need to be a part of the presence of it. I know a lot of people look at it. So I'm on there, I'm on all of them. And so it's just the way I filter my listings out to the public, it just goes through my database and then out to the systems on their own. So, and everybody sees, I send out 2 listings per week, and, so they see me a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that speaks back to, again, where your audience is at, right? I think from maybe a commercial standpoint, a lot of those people who are looking into commercial properties, they may be on LinkedIn looking, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why you got stopped on the street of, hey, nice listing, that looked great. Yeah. Because that's where your audience is. And I think that's something to really keep in mind is when you are selecting a social media platform to really put your effort in, is where is your target audience at? If they're not on TikTok, you don't necessarily have to put your time into TikTok then, right? It's a fun platform. I'm not saying you can't get great reach or great impressions from it, but if that's not where your audience is at, then why are you putting all of your effort into it? So really consider that when you are putting time and creating these different posts for social media, is that where your audience is living? Rachel, what about luxury and residential?
Yeah, so I would definitely add, one of the things that we coach to is that every listing should be a tool to get more listings. And social media is a huge component of that. Your potential future sellers want to know what you did for listings in the past. How did you maximize the exposure for that listing? How did you find the buyers for it? And so you need to treat every listing like it is your sales pitch for your future clients. And that is, making sure that you're posting it on social. If that, especially in the luxury space, that's probably a really great lifestyle video. Not just I'm walking through the property and it has a kitchen and it has a living room, but what does it feel like when you live in this home? What is your life going to look like when that is your home? And so we want a really good video. We want a full-length video and we want a shorter video for social because we know everyone's attention span is very short. But that's part of what we're talking about with social media is making sure that you are checking all of those boxes. And who is the buyer for the listing? Where am I going to reach them? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on TikTok? Where are they? You might have to hit every single one of those, but you make your plan in advance and then you go through that list of activities and execute all the way through.
Right. And I think to add on to that, if you do find yourself in a position where you are in need to be on multiple platforms, you can repurpose your content.
Yes.
You can take your video from TikTok that you created as your lifestyle video for the luxury space, and you can repurpose that to be your Instagram reel. right? It doesn't have to be creating something brand new for every single thing necessarily.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
You create really good content and you find all of the uses for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's about how can you be effective and efficient? Because again, at the end of the day, you're trying to reach your audience, right? You're trying to build up your brand awareness and get in front of people who could potentially be your clients. But you also have to go out and build relationships and do potentially, you have to go out and close your deals, and you have to go show your listings. And there's other aspects to your business outside of just solely that social media piece. That's just a piece of the big pie, right? So how can you be efficient and effective when you are creating content? And that's repurposing and redistributing and using your TikTok video for an Instagram reel, right? So think of it in that way of when you are taking things to market through social media. So Grant, I want to follow up with you real quick on the paid advertising realm, because I know that's a big component to social media as well. And so when people are looking to potentially get into paid advertising, what are some nuggets that you would tell them that are really important for them to know about the paid advertising space, right? Because I think it's something where you kind of know you should do it, but you might not necessarily know how to do it. So what are some pieces of information that everyone should be walking away with of, if you're going to get into paid advertising, here's some things you really need to know?
I think that the number one thing that you need to know is that your success with paid advertising in real estate has virtually nothing to do with paid advertising on social media. It has everything to do with the quality of the systems and processes you've built to support what comes from it, which is having a CRM, which some agents don't, but making sure you have a good contact management system that agents can dump contacts into or leads can flow into, having good sales processes, what emails, text, calls, what's the frequency, how long, actually managing contacts inside of a database, hot leads, warm leads, cold leads. If you spend, and I wrote this down based off of what somebody had said, is if you focus on the quality of your systems and processes, you won't have to focus on the quality of a lead source. It's every lead that you get from any source is cold. And less it is like a referral. That's a warm handoff from somebody that, you're going to have a really high success rate at converting. So you take an industry that's been built off referrals where the conversion rate's 60 to 80%, and then you introduce them to online lead generation where the conversion rates in the real estate industry, it's 0.8%. There's a stark contrast to systems, and really the only difference is one is a cold lead source, one is a warm lead source. And so spend a lot of time building out kind of like the infrastructure to support lead generation, and then every source of leads that you get will most likely be good. What makes it bad is not having the right sales processes to support it. Going to Facebook and getting leads is like, my son's 5. I could show him how to do it. It's really not a super complex process. And if you have a credit card, you can call literally any company in real estate. Everybody's got leads that you can buy, but for some reason, agents don't have success with all of them. Well, the reason is that your CRM, your sales process, it is either non-existent or it's undefined. And so if you want to have success with paid ads from Facebook, I just gave you all a nugget. Go run a homes list ad using a Facebook lead form. You don't have to put any targeting, just set it to the $5 to $10 a day budget. You're going to get leads if you do that. It's what happens after a lead enters the database that will determine the effectiveness of what success it is that you're going to have. So spend a ton of time developing, starting a CRM, putting the sales processes in place, truly understanding what your clients are going to experience when they come in to your world, to your ecosystem. And then if you invest in that, any lead source, you can go anywhere. Any lead source you've ever had, where you're like, well, Facebook leads don't work, or Boomtown, or Bold Leads, or Zillow, or Realtor.com. I promise you that you'll convert leads from all of those lead sources if you can put the right infrastructure in place to support those leads as they enter your database.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to start wrapping up, but before I do the last 2 questions I have, I just want to announce that if anyone has any final questions that they would like our panel to answer, please feel free to include those in the chat. I already have a couple that people have sent in. So I want to go ahead and get started. But yeah, if you guys have any questions that you would like everyone to answer, please go ahead and put that in the chat and we'll make sure we answer that in this last couple minutes. But I want to go ahead and just ask if there is one action item that everyone should walk away and do right after they listen to this webinar. What would that action item be to generate leads? I think we've talked about a lot today. We've covered a lot, from making sure your marketing is strong and consistent to making sure you understand, that you need to have empathy getting your client base, right? So what is one just action nugget that everyone should walk away with and just go do today when they hang up from this webinar? Chris, why don't you go ahead and start?
And again, I don't want to steal from Grant, but I would agree with what Grant had to say. Having systems on a good CRM on how to organize these leads as they come in and track them. I think that's something I'm constantly, I have systems in place, but I'm always looking for, software that I could really, take advantage of. When I was in Los Angeles, I had a pretty good software that I utilized, but I don't think they're in existence anymore. So I've been searching for something like that. So if there's anything that I think that would help organize what I do and track leads and generate leads, would be just a solid CRM system. And that way I can organize them.
Nice. Rachel?
So I would say my homework assignment for everyone would be to, in the 2-3 months left this calendar year, how can you authentically connect with your sphere, your contacts, whoever they may be, whether they have been clients or you hope that they will convert to clients? What can you do to really authentically connect with them? Because it is a relationship business. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. So you need to be top of mind, but you also need to be someone that they connect with, they want to work with, they see as a resource or an advocate or an advisor for them. And so how can you take what's left of this year, knowing that in January, there are a lot of people that want to hit the ground running, whether that's buying, selling, all of it. So how can you reinforce those relationships you have with those people in these last couple of months? And that is more than just an automated seasonal, I'm grateful for you Thanksgiving email. You have to do that because they'll notice if you don't and everyone else does. But what else can you do? Is that pick up the phone? Is that stop by? Is that a client appreciation event? What can you do to really strengthen those relationships at the end of this very crazy year?
Awesome. And Grant?
If your question was how could somebody leave from this and go get leads in their business, I go back to Facebook. I mean, if you run a homes list ad, if you have an individual listing, if you market that using a lead form ad, or you have an open house coming up, those are top 3 or 4 strategies that we see are generating both buyer and seller leads today, getting you names, email addresses, phone numbers, people that you can contact and start building a relationship with to sell more houses.
Nice. Okay. And so I haven't seen any new questions come in from the chat, but I do have one. So with market conditions that are consistently changing all the time, we know this isn't anything new. We know the real estate market ebbs and flows back and forth all the time. How can professionals and teams continue and consistently generate leads, but also remain flexible with what the market is doing? So whoever wants to go first on that one, I'll leave the floor open for that.
Well, so I guess one of the things that I always, even when I was the president of Indiana Commercial Realtors, is wanting to be ahead of the curve. So knowing the market, trying to just stay in tune with the market, so then you could pivot with the market on how you run your business. So And so that's one thing that I try to do with in our business. When we talk about social media, I many times ask my students, hey, what's the latest? Because I may not even know. So, but then I think, Rachel, you make a great point that, my audience may not be a part of that platform yet, but yet I'm trying to be ahead of the curve on that. So I got to back up a little bit on that, but you want to be a part of that. One of the things that I do also too is I try to get a return on my investment on the multiple listing services that I subscribe to. So in the commercial world, I have to subscribe to 5 different ones. So I'm in LoopNet, CoStar, Crexy, iCrex. I'm in our local one. I'm in I think the Indianapolis one. But we work those MLSs, to be honest with you. I want a return on them. I will, in the commercial world, I'm going to look to see who bought a property 5 years ago, and then we're going to target them, and we're going to go after them. So, and we're going to let them know we're here, and let them know that we can offer our services to them. So, I'm proactively going after those listings on data that we already have, that I already pay for. So again, my goal is to get some return on those dollars that I've spent to these 5 MLSs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one way that I try to be a little bit more proactive about it. So.
Nice.
I would reiterate kind of what we've discussed, which is that, you need to stay on top of the market trends. You need to know what's happening, ideally before it happens, but at least as it's happening. But then on the back end, you need to have those processes and systems in place, because if you have a really good foundation, it's going to be easier to adjust to those changes. And you maybe have to tweak something with your process, but you don't have to rebuild a process every time the market changes.
Yeah.
I would just remember that simple is scalable. A lot of times when markets adjust, people try to do more, and it's actually the opposite that's going to help you have a lot of success. You want to do less. You might do more on a couple things instead of a lot on a lot of things. And I think so many people can get so distracted. Cash hides mistakes. The last couple of years have been, pretty easy for a lot of people that are getting punched in the teeth today, as they wake up and realize that you're going to actually have to work to get transactions, and you're going to have to work to develop relationships, and business isn't going to come as easy. And so just remember that simple is scalable. You want to focus on the couple things that actually move the needle in your business, do them better than anybody else in the world. And you'll never have to worry about where business is going to come from. I mean, if you, like I said, you go back to caring more about people in their lives, you get really clear on what it is that actually moves the needle in your business, and focus more on doing those really simple things better than anybody else in the world. It doesn't matter what's going to happen in the market. Like the market can go up, the market can go down, just like it always has. You go back to 2008 to 2012, there were 357,000 real estate agents that left the industry. But if you look at the transaction volume, it really wasn't significantly lower over that course of time as it was in previous years or preceding years. And so transactions are going to happen every day. Business is going to happen every single day. And if you look at your market, at the top producers, they don't have the whole market when it comes to market share. They have 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. So you just realize there's an unlimited number of business accessible to you if you can get really simple and just do what it is that works in your business better than anybody else. You'll never have to worry about having success in this industry.
Yeah. Awesome. All great points. Real quick before we close up, I just want to go around real quick and let everyone share where you can be found, your website, what social channels. Chris, why don't you go ahead and just start that, and we'll wrap up.
Great. Well, again, I'm Chris Cockrum, and I'm in Indiana. I do commercial real estate. So I have cockrumcommercial.com. I'm a part of the FC Tucker company, but that's my personal website that you can find all of my properties on. You can find, I sell businesses as well, so I cover the whole gamut. But all my information on there, and then all my social media information's on there as well. So you could be linked to my LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever from that website. So again, that's cockrumcommercial.com. And again, thanks a lot, Rachel, for asking me to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining. Rachel?
The other Rachel.
Yes, the other Rachel.
So the best place to find me is probably on LinkedIn, Rachel Warner. I'm the director of luxury marketing for John L. Scott in the Pacific Northwest. The rain is coming, so it's about to get back to how things usually are here. But I'd love to, connect with you, answer questions, talk marketing ideas at any time. You can find me there.
Awesome. And Grant?
Yes, thank you again for having me, Rachel. I really appreciate it. The number one way that anybody could connect with me is just go to witly.net, witly.net/demo. Jump on our calendar. We'd love to connect with anybody and help you understand how to implement some of the tactical things that I talked about here today. I appreciate, again, the opportunity, Rachel.
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you need any more marketing resources, you can also go to Virtuance.com and head over to our resources tab. We have a bunch of free marketing resources on there. And also be sure to just keep up with other webinars we host like this and our new podcast, Curb Appeal, which also hosts guests just discussing all things real estate marketing. So thank you guys again so much for joining and providing a ton of value and insight to our audience. On behalf of me and Virtuance, I know we all really appreciate it. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, you guys.